My name is Robert Wington. I'm with Ohio University Chillicothe branch, and this is my podcast on environmental wellness and the effect of homelessness in Chillicothe.
I am Amy Jones. I'm the homeless program supervisor at the Chillicothe VA. I have been in this role for about 8 or 9 years, and I've been with the Chillicothe VA for 15.
I'm Kelly McCorkle, social worker in the HUD-VASH program of the housing program. Been with the Chillicothe VA for 14 years.
My name is Vernon Holdren, and I'm with OUC. And
How long have you lived in Chillicothe?
I've been here for about 4 or 5 years.
Okay, and so my first question is, how does the presence of homelessness so, like, in terms of, have you seen homeless people negatively or positively impact the environment?
So, here in Chillicothe, they are actually working on criminalizing homelessness, and so they are doing, as a community, I think they perceive it negatively, because they are going through and shutting down camps, and veterans who continue to camp in homeless encampments are actually going to be penalized legally starting very soon, I think, if they haven't already.
They haven't passed it yet, but I think probably some of the challenges that the unhoused people face whenever they're unsheltered is trash, being able to have trash pickup, things like that, because it's not like they have trash service where they're located. So it makes it very difficult. There's not very many resources to assist with those things. Obviously, there is other concerns about whenever people are doing fires and things like that because they're trying to stay warm.
Yeah.
There's concerns about we had a few individuals over the winter that passed due to CO2 poisoning inside their tents and things like that. So, so I think those are probably the biggest. I mean, when you think about sewage, restrooms, it's not like these things are readily available for individuals, so they are utilizing that outside wherever they can, most cases if they're not able to go.
And then, have you seen homeless people impact the environment?
Not necessarily. That's for me, because like whenever I would drive around and I'd see them over at the corners or whatever, most people just ignore them and go on their way.
What ways do you think that homelessness can also contribute to environmental degradation? So, like, have you seen a homeless person like purposely vandalize like a nature reserve or something like that?
I have not. For the most part, most that I've encountered or come with usually try to be very respectful of things. Some that choose to be homeless for lots of different reasons, but one of the things is some are very much enjoy being in the environment. They obviously weather can affect that in a lot of ways, but for the most part, they're located. I think many of them have expressed that they would rather be out away from towns or not close to being inside city limits. But the difficulty with that is they got to be close to getting food, things like that, because they usually don't have transportation. Those that I know that are homeless and do have transportation tend to be more out because they enjoy the environment, they take care of it, they have the means to be able to keep up with where they're staying. So,
do you like notice a difference between those that are able to be like in like parks and stuff instead of those that are stuck over in Chillicothe? Like, is there like a difference between the two? Or
it can be. So a lot of times the ones that are in the parks and stuff do have their own transportation, so they're kind of usually in their cars or vehicles or campers for the most part of those and they're usually very primitive type setups. Usually vehicles is kind of where most of them are. So a lot of times people wouldn't know if you don't recognize or if you're not close to individuals that you don't know that that's where they're living. On those things, because there's no obvious signs of what people think that they recognize as homelessness. Is they tend to stereotype and say it's all this junk laying around, drug using, thieving, all of these things. Many of them that I know, you know, if the local restaurants or people, they actually talk about, you know, there are a lot of people that do give them things, so they don't really vandalize and do stuff. That's usually a last resort for most.
Right. Yeah.
And it's to get their needs met on that.
Yep.
How large do you think the homeless population is in Chillicothe?
Well, it has increased. I think if I remember the percentages correctly, I think it had increased like a 7% increase in the past year. And I can't remember if that's just Ross County or if that was because we cover 17 counties. So
Right.
it might have been in one of the regions of a couple counties. So there is an outreach team that goes out in Ross County. They go out every 2 weeks and try to keep a head count on that. I would, you know, it is nothing for us to see easily catch 10 to 15, 20 people. And there's usually more sites, but those are the ones that kind of wait around on us. And every site usually has anywhere from, I mean, it's rare to have just one person in a site.
Yeah.
It's usually, you know, 5, 6 each site, on top of that, so.
And then, what are the environmental challenges that shelters face when trying to provide services?
Well, with it being a communal setting, so a lot of times during flu season, COVID, all of those things, you know, keeping people healthy. I mean, that's a really challenging aspect of that. Facilities for people to utilize, showers, bathroom, like the local one here in town, they use a shower trailer. So we've had some issues with people with mobility issues being able to access that because you have to kind of climb steps to get to those and all of that kind of stuff.
Then they, in the winter especially, they close during the day, or even in the dead of summer, they close during the day, and so veterans are left to be out in the community without shelter throughout the day. So it's either extremely cold or extremely hot. They are good about giving them places that they can go that have temperature controls, so like the library and that sort of thing, that they can hang out during the day.
Oh, okay.
So,
How do shelters manage food donations to minimize food waste?
I'm not sure if I know some of ours, and they all probably have a little bit different plans in place, but a lot of them utilize the Mid Ohio Food Bank. And most of them usually have somebody that's kind of over that aspect of it to kind of based on the number of people they have there. A lot of them don't even necessarily provide food at the shelters, so that's not a given.
Right.
A lot of shelters do not have food. They may have a church or an organization that might bring a meal at night or a snack or something along those lines. But the ones that do have food, it's usually stuff that has a long shelf life. On there, it's very minimal. That kind of stuff.
Gotcha. And what has been the impact of the shelters on the surrounding environment? So, such as, has the shelters, where they're placed, has the area around those, have they been very polluted?
So, it probably depends on who you ask on that, because most people do not want shelters near them. On that, I mean, same way with recovery places, different things. Nobody wants them right there.
they want it in their backyard.
Right. So, like just seeing it as, I mean, of course I'm not there 24/7, but there is obviously a lot more traffic because people are walking, they have to leave, those kinds of things through the day. They're usually walking to where they need to go. So it does increase the population in that area, of that, for the people that don't permanently live there, I guess I would say. So I think there probably is, to some extent, there could be other things that occur, whether it's criminal or not, or it's perceived that it could be, because you just have people hanging around and they think that they're usually doing something. For the most part, most of them I've never seen like cosmetically anything looking bad around there. So most of them are always well kept, that kind of thing. They also are shelters do have rules and of behavior and stuff that, like, if people are doing those things, being destructive, criminalizing stuff like that, they can no longer stay there.
Gotcha.
So those can get in trouble just the same on that kind of stuff.
For how long did they usually stay in those facilities?
So, Ross County, there and theirs particular, they don't necessarily have an end date, do they? I mean, I don't
No.
Is since they've gotten their larger
But
facility.
once they leave, they have to usually sit out for 30 days before they can
If
come
it's-
back.
if they don't leave, like if they just don't show up for the night, because they basically kind of account for those beds. So when they're at complete full capacity, they have 80 beds that they can have in their shelter. So those that so like if you don't show up and didn't tell me that you don't show up, somebody could be using that bed, but they can't because you didn't let them know that you weren't coming back.
Right.
So when that happens, then that's kind of like breaking a rule. Then they say, hey, you're going to have to wait 30 days before we can even let you come back in, because it was like an unplanned leave. But otherwise, I would say, I'm not sure if they've told us recently what their average stay is. They do have a ton of resources of different, like, so they would contact us if it was a veteran, we would get in there. There's integrated services, job family cert, like all the things in there. I'd say they're probably around the 30 to 90 day marks, I would say, for most people.
Right.
Is my best guess
mean,
without
yeah.
actually talking to them.
Got some true outliers there, some
Yeah.
that stay there for a long time because the shelter life's all they really knew. And
Yeah.
so they kind of become, I don't want to say institutionalized, but sort of like they just depend on that system to take care of them. Some are really quick to just need to, get back on their feet and move out after they get a paycheck or. So there's definitely outliers, but yeah, I would say it's probably about 30 to 90 days.
And how often do you see homeless people being successfully reintroduced into society?
Every day.
Yeah,
Okay.
that's true.
Yeah.
We do. Yeah. We have people that are. I mean, our housing rate and maintaining housing rates are pretty good on a lot of that. We
We have a 2% return to homelessness rate.
I gotcha.
So 2% of everybody we housed last year returned to homelessness.
Yeah.
So they do pretty good.
Gotcha.
Yeah.
The program we're in has case management, which is very helpful too, because it allows the veterans to have a helping hand guide them through tenancy skills, paying their bills, achieving resources, that sort of thing. So
I gotcha.
Why do you think the city of Chillicothe is trying to criminalize the homeless?
I would say a lot of the factors of seeing it and people seeing that, the trash, the things like that, that's what most people complain about. So, Charleston Pike's a very popular one that people
Yes.
saw that they just cleared out multiple times. Years ago, oh gosh, I don't know, it's probably been close to 10 years now, I'd say. Different people that are in charge, council, whether it's Park and Recreation, management, whoever it is, they did actually, because over by Walmart, under that bridge, used to be what Charleston Pike looks like. I mean, like they've kind of gone back and forth over my time frame of where those things are, but they've watched that a lot closer the last few years. But they used to have trash service, so the Park and Rec would go and pick up trash, or not pick up trash. They would provide trash bags and say, have it out here by this day, and then they would take the trash for them. That actually kept it a lot better, on that part, because the reality is the homeless people are not going to go away. I mean, you're not fixing the problem by arresting them and throwing them in jail. Actually, you're hindering them from being able to find housing, because now they're going to have a record, they're going to have fines, they're going to have things, they probably don't even have an income to pay those fines. So it ends up costing the community a lot more than it would if they would just look at some of the services. And we know criminalizing homeless has been done several times over different locations and doesn't work. So it doesn't solve the problem.
Right.
So I think it's because not always knowing what to do. I don't know that it's an intentional thinking like, oh, I'm going to harm these people. It's kind of like, this can't keep happening. It's affecting businesses and other people, and you know, we can't have people dying in a field, whatever, different things like that. But I don't know that they don't know what the other solution is. They just don't want to see it.
Right,
That's kind of my thoughts. I mean, now whether they may have other things on it, but you still going to cost you money and all these things if you're arresting people or whatever you're going to do with that. I don't know what their plan is with all that, but
I think there's always the philosophy of a few bad apples ruin the whole bunch. And like she said, a lot of them are very respectful of their space, very respectful of the space that they occupy, and the resources that they use. But you get a few in there that kind of ruin it for everybody and kind of makes a mess. And then those are the people that get the publicity,
Yeah.
so it's unfortunate.
Most of them try to hide as much as they can, and they don't want to be seen or people to. I mean, like obviously they have to be close so that they can, because they're usually walking, so they have to be within walking distance of getting things. But I've had several tell me they basically try to sleep all day and kind of hide out all day or go hide basically so that people don't bother them. And most of the things they do is at night so that people don't see them where they're staying, where they're walking, or because they also get attacked and robbed, and lots of things happen to them whenever they're out. So it's not a very safe thing for them as well.
Gotcha.
So.
That is everything I have. Nice talking to you. You are
Amy.
and
Kelly.
Vernon.
all right. Thank you for being on the Environmental Wellness Podcast.
Thank you.
Thank you.